things are not always what they seem. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Got a couple of important chores to do in the garden today because things are not always what they seem, and we're going to try to take care of that today. For the most part, things are going well. We're still getting plenty of zucchini. I ran some totals the other day, and we have harvested over 50 pounds of zucchini, and it's still bearing. We do have one vine though that I think is done. The squash borers had just kind of gotten to that before I realized what was happening, and you can see there's the end of it. It's done. So I'm going to be pulling it up, but the other vines are still kind of producing. There's one or two others that may be showing some signs that might want to do some things. Lettuce, of course, is done. It all bolted a long time ago, and I'm waiting for these flowers to do their thing because I want to try something new this summer. I want to try to harvest the seeds from that lettuce so I can replant it. Over there we've got our two winter squashes that I waited to plant on Memorial Day on purpose so I could harvest them when it was cooler weather and be able to store them more readily. The cucumbers are finally really doing something. They've been slow going, as has a lot of things, but that's not really what this video is about. Let's look at the beans. These are amazingly lush and full beanstalks, and I have all confidence in the world that if I had a tall enough trellis, I could indeed climb this thing to the skies. They're just so lush, and in fact they're getting kind of greedy. You can see here, I'm going to show you, they're sending out runners from where they're growing, and they're trying to strangle my eggplant. So I'm going to have to take care of that today, and it's happening on the other side, that other row as well. I don't know if you can see that runner going across. Got to be honest with you though, the only thing that these beans, these green beans, are feeding are the Japanese beetles. Here is a lovely pair. There's another pair mating for the morning. There's another one waiting for a partner. And you can see the kinds of damage that's been done. And I have spent a lot of time this summer out here spraying these guys with a soap solution to kill them. The Japanese beetle trap is probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches deep in dead Japanese beetles. Those are all good things. They're starting to migrate over to my sweet potato plants, so I've killed a few over there, and I've spread diatomaceous earth, or DE, on the leaves of that, on the leaves of my sweet potatoes, to try to discourage them from coming back. Here's one thing these green beans have not done this summer though. They've yet to produce a single bean. And we are, let's see, I planted these on April the 30th. And today is July 14th. So it's been 75 days. Not a single blossom on here. And at this point, I don't think there's going to be one. I'm faced with the decision of what to do with these green beans. There's a very small part of me that wants to just leave them so that the Japanese beetles just eat these and not eat anything else. They're welcome. Ooh. This is what happens when you talk with your hands. You knock your hat off your head. Let's try that again. If I leave the beans here, the Japanese beetles will eat these and not touch my other plants. And you know, there is a whole system out there of companion plants that you can plant to either attract harmful insects away from your good plants, or to attract good insects to where you want them to be. This could be one of those ideas. I just won't worry about watering this, to sort of let it do its thing. You know, maybe even add some bone meal, which I'm going to be adding to the soil later today anyway, to see if I can't trigger these vines to produce some blossoms and therefore some beans. That's only a very teeny tiny small part of me. What I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to pull up all of these vines and I'm going to replant. It's July 14th, as I've already said. That's when I'm filming this. Hopefully I'll get the video actually published closer to July 14th. I'm getting kind of behind this summer. And I'm going to replant. I have harvested beans before in prior summers when I had the garden into October. So that gives me plenty of time to get some beans. I'm going to plant a bush variety so that, you know, it's fairly determinate. They'll reach their point, they'll do their thing. And let's just see if maybe a different batch will give us something. I've got some suspicions as to why the beans did not produce. It's the same reason why I think that the tomatoes are taking so long to ripen. But as you've already seen this morning, other things seem to be doing really, really well under these conditions. I'll share my theories in a later video. This is space that's not providing any food for me, so I'm not going to take it up anymore. I'm going to rip up all of these vines. I'm going to replant one row of the bush beans. And on that other row of massive vines I have growing over there, I still have some seed potatoes. We still got plenty of time to get some potatoes to grow. So I'm just going to plant the row of potatoes. It's North Carolina. It's not going to frost here before mid and late November, at least this part of North Carolina. So we should be able to get something out of this. The other thing that's not always what it seems are the tomatoes. I've already mentioned that the tomatoes are taking a little too long to ripen. We've not picked very many. I mean, here it is, July 14th, and I've picked less than 20 cherry tomatoes. I've picked a handful of the San Marzanos. I mean, there's plenty of them on the vines. Let's just get a look here. You can see they're sort of taking a really long time to ripen, but there's lots of fruit finally on the vines. Here's that new vine that I planted, and it's getting its first flower buds right there. We got plenty of Amish paste here, although I think we may have gotten some cross-pollination issues with our San Marzanos. Based on the shapes of some of these, I'm not 100% sure. This one, the heavy rains has caused this to split, but it's not wanting to ripen. Here's our cherry tomato plant. Oh no! Man! The vine broke off. I wonder if I can get those to ripen in the windowsill. That could have been a bird, because the birds like to come and hang out right here while they wait their turn for that suet feeder right there. Man, they love that suet feeder. And we've got it there so we can watch them from the window. But anywho, here we've got our Better Boy tomato, and they're slow to ripen. Another Amish paste. This was the one that had broken off and I replanted a couple of videos ago. I'll put a little link up here for that one. This plant, quick story, a week ago I was going to pull this one up. I was giving it one more week to produce some fruit. It's just growing this incredibly luscious vine, and in fact it was growing over into the San Marzanos, and you can see right here I just cut the edge of it off to keep it from encroaching. I had looked all over this thing for some fruit and there wasn't any. I cut that big long limb off. We got several days of just a ton of rain, and all of a sudden, boom, there's all this fruit all over it. So maybe it didn't want my water, maybe it didn't like the city water, maybe it wanted God's water. And you can see the size of the fruit that just seems to have developed, you know, in a couple of weeks. I'm fairly certain those were not there before, and I didn't see them and just thought that they were part of some other plant. I am 90% positive on that. I'm leaving 10% for human error. But anywho, this one has done miraculous. Overall though, it's still not the amount of fruit that I wanted to get. Before I get around to the real reason for my morning, and that's pulling up those bean plants and planting new ones, gotta lend some support here to this cherry tomato. Let's go pull these beans up and get some new ones planted. This is definitely an itchy process, getting all in these green beans and the leaves are scratching across getting in the, there's no beans here. Getting into these green bean vines and all those leaves are scratching you. Ugh, gonna have to just shower, even though I'm gonna go to the gym after this. All of this stuff, let me show you. This is a lot of good compostable material, especially since green beans are a legume. You can see on these roots here, these nodules are nitrogen fixers. That's one of the reasons that green beans grow so easily. They can kind of fix the nitrogen themselves. They can absorb the nitrogen out of the atmosphere. They can absorb it out of the soil. They kind of fix it in ways in which that they can use it in the future. So it's always good to grow something like this, part of a rotation. But that's lots of good nitrogen in there. And my compost up here, you can see behind me, underneath that plastic, is a bunch of oak leaves, a lot of brown material. And I'm throwing, as I wave this knife around, that's not very safe, is it? Let me put this down. Don't talk with your hands and have a knife in your hands at the same time. I'm going to take all of this green bean stuff here and all this nitrogen that it has absorbed and it's storing in it. I'm going to cut it up into smaller pieces and throw it into this compost and see if I can't speed up the decomposition of these oak leaves. So that's something that we'll do in just a few minutes. Thanks for tuning in and staying this far along in the video. Will you do me a favor? Will you go down and give it a thumbs up? Maybe even share this with somebody who might enjoy watching this as well. Don't forget to subscribe while you're down there so you can keep up with my victories, my defeats. We'll see if this one is a defeat that we can turn into a victory as I try to turn this place into a suburban homestead. Above all else, always remember that the one who created you made you able to create also. So get out there and make it, grow it, and live it.